11 House Republicans are on board with the effort to impeach Rod Rosenstein as they accuse the Justice Department of abusing the FISA court system, ignoring subpoenas, and stonewalling GOP Congressman Jim Jordan.
We're tired of the Justice Department giving us the finger and not giving us the information we're entitled to do our constitutional duty.
Rosenstein has said he's not keeping information from Congress. It's not clear whether lawmakers will consider the resolution before they leave for recess. Democrats say the impeachment effort is a direct attack on Robert Mueller's Russia probe. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you were listening last hour, we were talking about the perhaps ever-changing face of the Treasure Valley, talking about, well, just sharing some insights from a New York Times piece, going county by county, precinct by precinct, on just who voted for Trump and who didn't. And if you missed it, just a brief recap, and then we'll move on. I was looking at the city of Boise, and people are going, well, Boise has always been home of the libs, but there were so many folks from Boise voting for Hillary Clinton, a fatally flawed, failed candidate, that it almost tipped the entire county of Ada. The president only won Ada County by 11%. 11% of the votes, 48% to 39%. Now, in Canyon County, it was a little different, 65% to 23%, but you're looking at Ada County having just about twice the amount of Republicans that Canyon County does, and let's see, way more number of the Democrats. Actually, there were more Democrats voting in Ada County than there were Republicans, by almost 30,000 than in Canyon County. So what does it mean? Well, it means that you have people moving in, and I understand that Boise's always been liberal, but again, it festers, it grows, and if it's allowed to continue, we could have, Ada County commissioners that are Democrats. We could have folks that at one time enjoyed one-party rule that is over. So what do you do about it? You get involved, and obviously you take a look at these things, but it's fascinating to go neighborhood by neighborhood and check this out. Now you go to Meridian, Trump starts winning by 26% of the vote, and others almost double. You go out into the hinterlands even farther, and you see that the president does fairly well. In Eagle, Trump only won by 20%. So that is one topic that we are discussing. The other one that we'll introduce now is this downtown stadium. And if you live in, and like I said, there are people that talk about the city of Boise, and I think Boise's great. It's wonderful. In fact, you're going to laugh at me, for the first time ever, I did a nature walk yesterday. I went to Albertsons Park, and then I went to Ann Morrison Park. Usually I go there. I go to, if we have the Boise Music Festival or the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic or something of that nature. But I went and enjoyed the outdoors, and I took pictures of ducks. That's right, I took pictures of ducks. That's my backup career, coming up with a website, iloveducks.com or what have you. And it really paused. I go, wow, this is such a beautiful place to live. And really, I've often argued that Boise is big, but Meridian, Caldwell, Nampa, Kuna, Eagle, all the surrounding communities, you put them together, they are bigger than the city of Boise. But obviously, many people work in Boise, around Boise. You pay taxes. If you live in the city, it is tough because you have Mayor Beater and his liberal progressive acolytes, the Yes crew in the city council that vote in favor of non-binding resolutions, or they've never seen a tax that they didn't like to stick it to the consumer, to stick it to the taxpayer, right? So, from the paper, after more than a year of planning a stadium in downtown Boise, an Atlanta developer now appears to favor a different site on the southeast corner of Main Street and Whitewater Park Boulevard in Boise's West End. Now, to be a contrarian, originally this was going to be off Americana, and this downtown area was supposed to bring in all these type of businesses. And if you've ever been to Reno, next to, near the Peppermill Casino, they have a downtown park, and that's nice. Peppermill, Pepperjack. If you're a gambler, you know what I'm talking about. If you work hard every day, well, theater of the mind. So, a downtown stadium project. It's going to help the entire area. Not really. It's going to help the city of Boise. and the people in Boise are going to pay for it. And you have people in the news media, and if you listen last hour, there's a caller named Howard. And Howard talked about the difference between the East Coast people and the mountain people. That's what I'll call us, the mountain people. We're the mountain people, okay? And the mountain people here in the Treasure Valley, people in Idaho, are very nice, very genteel, very, I don't know, lack of a better term, passive. But that's not to say weak. That's just you don't like overly opinionated stuff. Look, when I first started here almost 9 years ago, I had to adjust. I continue to adjust. I continue to work to be a part of this community. It's not something I take for granted. People don't like loudmouths. That's the president's problem here. So, respectfully, you take a look at this downtown stadium project, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, you're going to pull the Boise Hawks away from Garden City. And by the way, the Hawks are having a great year, but really, are people going to come out in downtown and for a 5,000-seat stadium or whatever it is for some out-of-state developer? Is it really worth the tax dollars? Oh, it's going to be economic development. Well, maybe they do that with private enterprise, right? Maybe they could do that if it's so lucrative. Do these private developers need tax breaks? Do these private developers need to be subsidized by the city, by the state, by the government? I mean, that's this point of capitalism, isn't it right? Is to go in and put your own dollars in, put them at risk, and then reap the rewards? It's obvious that nobody wants this downtown stadium. It's obvious that, you know, oh, well, soccer is going to draw. Does anybody really want to go out in the weather now and do anything? Correct me if I'm wrong at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Our man Lee Joe joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lee Joe.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you. The Hawks Stadium there is in my district, okay? And there's jobs and businesses around that stadium that depend on it for an economic engine. And there's no good reason to build another in Boise proper. That is in Garden City, okay? So Dave Beater's looking at a chance to increase his tax base and increase the amount of power he has in the valley, basically, by building another stadium in Boise so that, you know, Garden City doesn't get that tax money. I'm sure they're saving money by being in Garden City, where they're not exactly ruled by conservatives, but, you know, there's some common sense people there. And we're talking about the demographics inside that section of Boise, from State to Fairview in that area. That 70% that voted for Donald Trump, in that entire area, there's a bunch of independents. And I think the independents looked at Donald Trump and said, that is an abrasive character, and I'm not voting for him. And I can't blame him at all. And even with what he ran on, he didn't exactly run on conservative policies. He ran on populist policies, and I'm no fan of populist policies. And you know, fortunately, since he's been in office, some conservatives have been able to keep him guided in the right direction most of the time. So the demographics of independence is really what we're is one of the bigger issues inside that area. You know, people that are giving up on both parties really looked at that presidential campaign and said, yeah, well, we know Hillary and he's a loudmouth, and so some of them just went for whatever, choosing the two.
Lee Joe, let me jump in here for a minute and ask you a question. Which would people vote for? Which did people vote for, the loudmouth or the liberal?
They voted for the liberal there just because of the abrasiveness of the character. I mean, to me, Hillary's just more abrasive, but it's that New York style that nobody likes that. Nobody really likes that. And that's what I think Cruz was saying when he was decrying the New York politics that, you know, and Donald Trump came back with that, the New York politics of 9/11. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, you know, corruption politics and in your face dealing with people instead of trying to work together. But I like what Donald Trump's doing, but
So, Lee Joe, let me hit you with another one, though, because this has fascinated me since the primary about Donald Trump. If that were the case, and I believe that you are correct, why did so many politicians, Republican politicians in the Idaho primary, say, well, I'm Donald Trump? No, I'm more pro-Donald Trump. I'm all about Donald Trump. And then you have, again, and I've seen it from numerous campaigns, the most popular people in Idaho politically, Donald Trump by a landslide, followed by Mitt Romney, followed by Governor Otter.
It's the in thing to do now. When you claim you're a Republican, you've got to say, yeah, go Republican. And I'm still not a populist fan. And like I said, I go for some of the ideas that he's been working on because they're conservative ideas. But he still has this populist appeal and this populist base, which is basically a pro-tax, feel-good, emotional, illogical basis, for some of the things he does, like this upcoming discussion on family leaves and paid family leaves, based on kind of an unemployment insurance model. This is coming. It's another welfare program, another finger for the government to stick in your eye. So, and that's one of the things he's floating out there. So so in my district in 16, it's a huge fight to turn the independents, and it's always been liberal since about 15, 16 years ago. But there's no reason why those independents can't see logic and turn conservative again. They're not that set in being liberals. It's just that Donald Trump was an abrasive soul, and they just decided. That's my analysis.
All right, Lee Joe, thank you. Appreciate it. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So, back to this downtown stadium idea from the paper. Mayor Beater was evaluating a new proposal to move the stadium to the west end. Under the proposal, the College of Western Idaho would have given up almost 10.5 acres. It owns on the northwest corner of Whitewater and Main, across from the intersection of Local Construct's land. In exchange, the college would have received land from St. Luke, where it would have opened a Boise campus. I always thought the College of Western Idaho was supposed to be like at one campus. And I understand that it's very, very popular. We love going to the College of Western Idaho, CWI, the College of U, but do you really need a campus in Boise? How about a big main campus like they do? And they're growing so fast, they have to, but do you really? I know they have some locations in Boise. Many years ago, I had a chance to speak there about marketing. But it comes down to this, whether it's urban renewal money, whether it's this, whether it's that, do people really want a downtown stadium? You may recall on the news that people came out and started, verbally smacking down the lawyer. I mean, look, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, do we really need more construction where you live, where I live, if it's not necessary? And what's lost in the story, and thank you, Lee Joe, for pointing that out here at KIDO Talk Radio, is the impact a stadium would have on Garden City. Very easy to get into Hawks Stadium again. I just don't think the quality of baseball, and it's a shortened season, and the fact that it's triple digits in the summer would warrant building a huge downtown stadium. And you have the Broncos put their toes in the water and then bail on that. And if you don't have the blue in this town, what do you have? So that is one topic that we're looking at, this downtown stadium vibe, and whether or not you're down with more urban renewal projects. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Are you ready to ante up for entertainment? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
The damage that has been done to these children will be lifelong. In fact, I suggest they need to be compensated for what this administration did to them.
There we have it. Outgoing Democratic Representative Joe Crowley wants people that have been separated at the border to be compensated. Good morning, Kevin Miller here. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. That, by the way, is on the Kevin Miller Facebook page, Kevin Miller Show, by the way. And Rick says, liberals always take it as a challenge to prove how they are the special kind of stupid. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about these folks that are going to be reunited. And as somebody said, if you don't want your child taken away, well, obey the law. And if you know that's going to happen here in America, well, then don't come to America illegally, right? Pro-Life joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pro-Life.
Yeah, good morning. A lot of the people moving here from California are Republicans, and I don't know how conservative they are, morally conservative. They should be better probably than, but they're kind of like general Republicans. But they don't move to the city of Boise. They stay out of Boise. They're moving to Gem County, Canyon County, Payette County, some other county other than Ada County, except maybe in Meridian. And so that's
what do you mean by that when you're talking Meridian?
Well,
you're saying the libs are moving into Meridian?
No, the libs are not moving into Meridian. They stay.
They're trying to expand Libville. Well, what happens if you're a lib and you can't afford the bougie expensive life of Boise? You're going to move where you can afford, whether it's Caldwell, whether it's Kuna, whether it's Nampa, whether it's where you live.
Yeah, maybe that might be, but mostly the libs are not family oriented, and they don't need. They just
now wait a minute. You're saying that all liberals are not family oriented?
Mostly.
Oh, come on.
They have
pro-life.
They have fewer children, and they.
Well, you could say that. You could say that as a society.
Well, yeah, but people that have faith have more children. That's an obvious statement.
Well, duly noted.
Yeah. Well, Idaho is going to continue as a state of refuge, and so people are going to flow here.
I disagree with you. I think the libs are coming in. How else can you explain that Donald Trump only won Ada County by 11%? Maybe you have some more insight. We've had people say that they don't like the big mouth. In fact, if it comes down to a liberal or a loudmouth, they're going to vote for the liberal. And that's not condemning them. I'm seeking to understand their motivation. Your thoughts?
Well, Trump has a big mouth, and that's why I voted for him, because he's destroying the media. They have had an ability to control American politics, which they shouldn't have never even tried to do, but they're crooked, and they want to have that influence. Now Trump's destroying that, and people are enjoying that, and so now people are coming to Trump's side, and they think, yeah.
Right, but how do you explain only 11%? He only won Ada County by 11%. That's a lot of liberals in Boise.
I agree, but the thing is now, it's going to be, the next time he runs, it's going to be 20%. Well, it's going to be 8% or something. It's going to be 20%. It's going to be 80-20 instead of the way it is. You know, it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be 70-30 for Trump, because people are starting to see that he's effective, and he's destroying the media's position in the directing politics, which is not news. They're just all commentary. There's no news about any of them. So that's why I voted for him, and I always vote for the Constitution Party, and I knew that I didn't have to vote for Trump for him to get the electoral votes from Idaho. But just because he did what he did, Cruz would have never done that. If Cruz would have won the presidency, he would have never been tearing into the media like this. He'd been cowering and trying to...
Well, no one is torn into the media like President Trump.
No, nobody is, and that's just what we needed. So, hey.
A vote for President Trump. Pro-life, anything else?
Nope. Just when sperm meets egg, there's a baby on Earth, and you can't kill the baby.
You know, that's what makes this show unique, when sperm meets egg. You don't hear that anywhere else, I hope.
No, well, I hope you hear it everywhere.
Well, right, but, on the radio, we'd like to have that phrase.
Yeah, and another thing, Trump tried to...
Oh, hold on, one more thing. Go ahead.
Okay. Trump tried to get all of the transgenders out of the military, and some punky federal judge said that he couldn't do that. Now, have you heard the Congress kick back on that? Have you heard President Trump ask the Congress to impeach that judge? I've not heard any.
I'm just going back to sperm meets egg.
Yeah. Well, people need to shape up their sexual.
Now, this is a family show. This is a family show.
Right.
Keep it clean.
All right. I will.
All right, pro-life. God bless.
Hey, we'll see you.
Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning.
Larry Gabbard.
Thank you, Larry. Let's find out what's happening in your world. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Thank you all for joining us. By the way, if you get a chance, and I highly recommend this, I want to thank Reverend Bill at the Boise Rescue Mission. I was watching his news feed on the Facebook, and there's another lip sync video, this time from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. It's guaranteed to make you smile. It really is. Guaranteed to put a smile on your face. And if you go to my personal jabroni Facebook, Kevin Miller, Star, Idaho. I mean, there's only one Kevin Miller. There's Kevin Millers in Meridian, Kevin Millers that work at Micron. There's a lot of Kevin Millers. I designed it that way so the NSA will have a hard time getting me. Anyway, check that out. I'm the one that with the fourth grade picture on there. Yes, my parents are so proud. It's a wonderful, wonderful video. Just kind of makes you smile. Coming up, before we get to Tom in Nampa and Tea Party Bob, we are in the hold position, as they like to say at the network, the big fox. What does that mean? We are standing by for Jared Halpern, the ever enthusiastic and charismatic and dynamic Jared Halpern of Fox News Radio, to go over what happened yesterday with Secretary Pompeo getting grilled by Senator Bob, not messing around, Menendez, and Senator Bob, don't call me Corker of Tennessee. You had Republicans and Democrats going after the Secretary of State, wanting to know. Oh, and Tess is calling too. Wow, we've almost got loaded lines as we wait for Jared. You know what they say. You always want what you can't have. So Tom, Tea Party Bob, and Tess, hang on. We will get to you in a minute. But the grilling that went on is just something that we have to share with you, number one. Number two, Rod Rosenstein, it looks like he's going to be impeached by the House. Now, will Paul Ryan do it now? And I was looking to figure out if any of our congressmen joined the club. There were 11 congressmen that started this, Jim Jordan and others. I don't know. I don't think Congressman Simpson would have voted for it, but I don't know if Congressman Labrador has voted for it as well. By the way, Congressman Labrador, we're working on getting him on, hopefully sometime soon. We've put in the request and anxiously awaiting for his response.
11 House Republicans are on board with the effort to impeach Rod Rosenstein as they accuse the Justice Department of abusing the FISA court system, ignoring subpoenas, and stonewalling. GOP Congressman Jim Jordan.
We're tired of the Justice Department giving us the finger and not giving us the information we're entitled to do our constitutional duty.
Rosenstein has said he's not keeping information from Congress. It's not clear whether lawmakers will consider the resolution before they leave for recess. Democrats say the impeachment effort is a direct attack on Robert Mueller's Russia probe. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Thank you, Rachel. So it got a little heated during the Pompeo hearings. Let's take a listen.
Additional sanctions are being considered against Chinese and North Korean entities as it relates to North Korea. We also learned that the administration is making progress on trade agreements. The EU, Secretary Pompeo alluded to that in the middle of the hearing as news broke that President Juncker and President Trump were making some kind of an announcement on trade. And we talked about policies that are firmly in place and a rejection of Russian activities in Crimea and beyond.
And joining us now, Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Oh, what a day yesterday, huh?
Certainly for the Secretary of State, yeah, and really hearing it from all sides when it came to questions about what the White House foreign policy is at this point, and a lot of pushback from the Republican chairman of the committee, Bob Corker, who I don't think really felt like he ever got an answer to the question about why the president says the things that he says, tweets the things that he tweets about allies in NATO and other international organizations that the U.S. Belongs to.
Well, what were the highlights? Was it Senator Menendez, Senator Corker? What really made it must listen to?
The thing that stood out was some of the pushback from Corker, because he handled the hearing a little interesting. Usually how this works is, everybody gives their opening statements. We saw that, and then the senators sort of take their turns with 7-minute Q&A sessions. Well, what Senator Corker, the chairman of the committee, did was he said, listen, I'm not going to use my 7 minutes right now. I'm going to use my 7 minutes throughout the hearing and ask follow-ups when I feel it's, required. So he would chime in sometimes when other senators' Q&As were done, Republicans and Democrats, and follow up. And sometimes those follow-ups were pretty difficult, including the exchange that I talked about at the beginning, where, he really pushed back on the idea that, the White House, I think what he said was it's a ready, shoot, aim approach to foreign policy.
Right, and the questions concerning whether or not, that Pompeo talked to the translator, what did he mean, and Pompeo's pushback was something you don't usually see, where he said, look, Senator Menendez, I know the game, and then it got even more heated.
Well, it's not just Democrats, by the way, that want to know what was agreed to in this meeting between President Trump and President Putin. Now, obviously, there are differences of opinion on, whether or not this translator should have to testify. Certainly that raises some concerns about precedent and whether or not that's an appropriate step to take. But, we heard from Republicans on the committee yesterday who shared some of the complaints that, listen, the reason we are asking all of these questions about that meeting is because the administration has not told us details about this meeting. And so when there are senators quoting the Russian foreign ministry and trying to ask if this is true, what Pompeo would say is, well, why would you trust the Russian foreign ministry? Well, what you heard from the senators was because we haven't heard from you guys. And that's what we're trying to find out is, why the Russian foreign ministry is saying what they're saying about this one-on-one meeting with President Trump.
To be continued. Any follow-up that's going to happen on this? Will anybody else be testifying, or will
there was discussion yesterday, and we'll see it. I mean, obviously, we won't have it on camera because there was, some senators, Cory Gardner and others, asked questions that the secretary was uncomfortable answering. He said in an open setting, and so there was a suggestion made for a classified setting to talk about some of these agreements, particularly when it comes to North Korea. There were a lot of questions about what exactly is North Korea agreeing to do, and how is the State Department, how is the Trump administration verifying that the North Koreans are doing what they said they would do? And those were some of the details for, I think, obvious reasons that the secretary did not want to answer in public. So, again, it raises these questions about, well, what was agreed to and how are we following through? It seemed like a classified session is probably something that it's going to be scheduled. Whether or not, we find out about that, obviously there'll be a lot of things said in that we don't find out. And I do think that there may be some questions in a classified setting as well about whether or not, there's more that could be shared about potentially what was said between Presidents Trump and Putin last week in Helsinki.
Jared, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure thing.
All right, let's get to the phones. Tom, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Tom.
Oh, good morning, Kevin. Just thought I'd call in. As you know, I moved up here shortly after the election 2 years ago, and I didn't vote for Trump, and I absolutely did not vote for Hillary. But
hey, welcome back from California. I'm glad you made it back.
Thank you. Yeah, it's hotter down there than it is here. Closer to hell, I guess. But anyway, I will vote for Trump's reelection, because one thing I've seen in the last 2 years is that the Obama team, they're so entrenched in his supporters that it takes somebody like Trump that kicks butt a little once in a while to try to reverse some of the things that Obama did. And I'm afraid any other Republican right now would probably get rolled by him. So I will vote for his reelection, and I think it's imperative that we keep both houses of Congress if they go Democrat, I think we're just going to have a real rough time. Nothing's going to get done. There's going to just be one investigation after another. I think it's time to Mueller to finish it all up, give his report, and let's get on with business and run the country. Because I just think this has been going on long enough. Well, when was he appointed now, Mueller?
Got me. At least a year.
Oh, it's been over a year.
Yeah.
But now you were worried a little bit about,
the libs.
Idaho going liberal and everything. But, you look at how things have changed. I was looking at a map of 1948, and it's exactly switched. The South was solid Democrat. Tom Dewey carried all the Northeast. The upper Midwest, in fact, the Chicago Tribune, Truman's holding up a paper, the famous picture of Dewey beats Truman. But as the polls were closing across the rest of the country, Truman carried virtually every state, including Idaho, in 48. And now you look at, and those things have switched around. All these mountain states are solid Republican. The South is solid Democrat. The Northeast is flipped and gone Democrat. So, things change over the years. I don't know. I think this group of states of Idaho, Wyoming, Utah are pretty solid Republican. I don't think they're going to change. I'd be more worried about Arizona, where he carried it only by 3.5%, and that's a state that's gone Republican virtually every year, including the year Goldwater ran. So, of course, he was a native son. So, I don't know. There's a few other states. Now, another one that's flipped totally, Dukakis carried West Virginia, and he didn't carry very many states in 88, and that state Trump won by the biggest margin of any state in the country. So it's going to be interesting to watch, and I don't think you got to worry about too many liberals from California coming in, because there's probably more conservatives coming in than liberals, but the state is growing.
Well, Tom, welcome back. I'm glad you're back.
Okay, well, thank you, and I'll try to call more often.
I appreciate it. Take care. All right, Tom.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Now it's time for the Sweet Prince segment from the Gem State Patriot on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you this morning?
Me, I'm just dancing with Justin Timberlake.
Well, I see you disposed of the Village Idiot this morning, and I want to thank you very much.
By the way, if people missed that in the 6 o'clock hour, I hope it was entertaining. I just let him talk, and then he didn't know what to do. He's talking about Liberal Steve, yeah.
He hasn't got I'm not going to get into him anyway. Now, everything's going in the right direction for President Trump, as I predicted. We now have a deal pending with the EU, which is going to increase trade and further fuel this great economy. Ship is turning around, and by the time the midterms come around, we should be well on our way to a huge recovery from 8 abysmal years of Obama's policy. Remember, a rising tide raises all ships, including the leaky one we have here in Idaho, with all the cronyism and the tremendous liberal movement taking place in Ada County. I will continue to disagree with you that we are not the reddest of the red states anymore, because we have been turning more purple each year. And with the corrupt politicians and so many Democrats who ran as Republicans sitting in our legislature, we need to drain the Idaho swamp. I'm not sure we're going to get it done unless the people really wake up like they did during the presidential election and dump these old cronies and the new crony liberals that have weaseled their way, getting elected as conservatives. You mentioned the developers in the new stadium. You have to understand that the Treasure Valley is run by the developers. It's the big money in a growing state, and it has just about taken over when it comes to plying the politicians who need to get approval for new construction projects. Just look at the urban renewal districts that they have been putting up in the past 10 years on the back of the taxpayers. Developers are no better than the health insurance companies or the IACI group, and they want to feed off the largest bank account in Idaho, and that's the state and local treasuries funded by the taxpayer money. If conservative voters do as they usually do and don't go to the polls in November, we're going to see the Dems make gains with the socialistic policy. And as I always say, we get the government we deserve. I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for your show. I do appreciate it.
Well, as you always say, silence is consent.
Yes, indeed. And knowledge is power. We try to provide the knowledge. And you do a hell of a job of it.
Well, if I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. Thank you, Tea Party Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, our great friend. Tess off her appearance at Independence Indoor Shooting last Friday. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Oh, good morning. Hey, so I just want to throw a couple things in. You know, the beauty of living outside of Boise and coming down to see friends and family is that you do get an opportunity to see all the changes and adjustments. And I was so disheartened to find that most of the restaurants are paying, or excuse me, that in most of the restaurants you're paying around $14 or $15 for a hamburger. So what I expected to be half a cow on a plate ended up being a little teeny tiny quarter-sized patty. So what you do recognize is that the mayor and his council are killing the businesses down here. You know, they turn over quite a bit because of the rent. But as I get ready to drive home, I do want to tell people there is an alternate way to get up through the road. Instead of going up towards McCall, take that back road, jump on that hot interstate, drive to Fruitland, and go up through Weiser. But stay out of those fire areas, because the one thing is, you know, we don't want to have to rescue you if we have a fire burning in our area. And you're likely, if you get through any of the roadblocks that are there, you will be running into property owners who will be there with a weapon because they're defending people's properties. So take care, be careful, and drive that back road.
You're saying that's going on right now? You got property owners up there with the weapons?
Well, sure. In any area, especially in north central or north Idaho, when you have those forest fires like that, there are always groups of people in the community that stay together and run ham radios or CBs, and they defend the properties up there from people who come up to, you know, commit crimes, to steal or whatever. But they also end up rescuing people. So that's the thing, is that don't be a burden for them. Just be careful, because I can tell you, you can't outrun and you can't outdrive a fire. It will be on top of you before you know it.
Tess, great words of safety. Thank you for sharing those with us at KIDO Talk Radio this morning. All right. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be a part of your day. Don't forget, Glenn Beck coming up, followed by Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity hitting it out of the park across America, and Lars Larson as well. We're always blessed to be part of your day. And just briefly before we go to traffic and weather on 107.5 FM and 580 AM, tip of the hat to everyone working outside, whether you're driving, whether you're a first responder, whether you're laying the chip seal like our friend Doug, whether you're paving the roads or building the homes. Please be careful. This weather is nothing to mess with, and just a point that we want to acknowledge your great efforts to not only build our community, but to feed your families and to make our community the best that it can be. Thank you, and please be careful. Traffic and weather. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Ray Amaya, great job. Appreciate having you back from vacation. And to everyone, thank you all for sharing the morning with us. May God bless you, your family, and keep the faith.